Hello, Jen.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Good, good. Welcome to office hour.
We had a use case come up recently where we have a contact us form on our site,
Yeah,
and we potentially want to send it to different people as
yeah,
an email,
yeah.
depending on which department is selected.
Alrighty. We have several answers for how we can get that done. And so
Okay,
we'll go through that. Yeah, yeah, we'll just give it another minute. I don't
okay,
know how many people show up, but otherwise that's a good question. And that
okay,
actually, it's a one that we have answered over the years multiple times. Most people don't need that, but I'd say maybe 10% of our clients would benefit from it. So we've done a variety of different custom solutions to put it in place. So we were just discussing, John and I were talking about various ways it could get done, the various ways we have done it, and the pros and cons of each different approach. So yeah, all right. We'll dive right into that one. And then have you seen the 7.5, the new content library yet?
I have not yet. No.
Okay, so let's answer the question that you had specific, and then if anybody else joins, they can either pick up right where we're at, and then we'll do a quick demo for you, show you the new content library,
Okay,
and
cool.
that'll be good. So, John, oh, I closed it up, didn't I? I did. I'm sharing a screen right now.
Yep.
That's the one I wanted. See if I can still log in. So this is an example of a client that has I think it's in the contact us form on their site. This is their dev site where this is public site. So I'm not showing anything secret here. They have a forms down here that allows you to, based on which department you have selected from the pull down on the site, it will send an email to a different person. So there's two different ways. This is probably a little bit more, John, how would you say, more robust? I don't know what the right
Um,
adjective is.
I don't know. It's a way to do it. It's
All
for
right,
sure
so
a way
this
to
is
do
one
it.
way to do it. So we're
Yep.
going to show you two different ways. So this is way number one. So not in any particular order. So if I look at the form content over here, I have a department, et cetera, and there's nothing else that you see. But if you look inside the source code, what some developer at Titan did is they just pasted this little script in here. So this
Okay,
is the extra code that an add-in. I won't explain all the code over here, but it triggers some things that have been installed that we have available to install in Titan. There's a standard, they're free add-ins. The configuration is what you just pay for us to kind of get it all configured for you. But the add-in, there's no charge for the software. So
mhm,
that puts in the thing, and this makes a call. So this little script over here does the magic. And basically what it does is it looks through your departments over there, and it decides based on whatever the department is, where to send email. So let me show you where that list is configured, is done over here in admin. And so if you go to global parameters and go to extensibility and then the contact us department drop down, here's all the parameters. And don't be intimidated by all the code here, but let me just see if I can expand this so you get a little bit more readable. Come on, maybe you can do it. There we go. So it says if it's the application access support, send it to this person. If it's a
mhm.
center for membership support, send it to AHOC. If it's the data information request, then send it to info. Study goes
Okay,
to Ectron. So you just set up this little standard structure, name of the department, email, end of department. Next one, name of department, email, and everything. So you configure this, then through the magic of that script and the code that we installed in Titan, based on whatever, and your pull down is going to be populated from this list. So that department pull down in the form is going to render these values. So when you're actually running the site, let's go to CID FTS.
Yep. Just give it to the workstation.
Yeah, I'm just searching here real quick. There they are. And I'm on the public site, and I'm over here, and about contact us. No, there's the form you just saw inside there. Come on down. Here's that list.
mhm.
Once you pick the list, underneath the hood, we have now swapped out that email address. And so right over here, underneath the hood, we've swapped out the email address.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah,
Does that fit your use case?
I believe it would. Yeah.
Okay, so that's method number one.
Okay.
John, tell us about method number two, behind door number two.
That they're all varying levels of how you want to manage it. Essentially, this is a nice one in the sense that we'll install the backend code and then it's just some configuration got to still know a little bit of, where do I put this script? Where do I do this? And all. The other way that we've done in the past for clients is actually using multiple form blocks on the page, but using JavaScript to hide or show particular forms based on the selection from a dropdown. So in that case, it might be more, maybe you have a slightly different form for each department, right? And so you have the first thing you have them do is select study support services. Okay, and then the form will shift and adjust to be the form that's for that. Well, it's accomplished by just layering multiple form blocks on that page and then using JavaScript to hide and show. The nice thing about that one is it's going to use the base form block and its functionality rather than needing to tie in some other pieces that are essentially back-end pieces that we know about. In either case, I suppose we would help either way. Using the form block as is has some upside in the sense that now there's not other customizations to then account for on upgrades and things like that. But there's a lot of different ways to skin the proverbial cat here.
So method number 2 is build a whole bunch of forms for every department. So in this case, you'd have, 9 forms, and then you build them all. You can just copy. That's a cool new feature. So we'll show you that in a second.
That'd be really cool.
Yeah, so you can just copy it real quick and clone 9 of them, and then you just have to go and edit each one of them. So it's almost just as much work. And then your page, your contact us page, just has 9 forms on it. We add a little bit more magic to hide them all until you make a selection. When you make a selection, then that form appears. And as Jon said, the advantage of that one is that this form could be slightly different or completely different for each department.
For each department you select,
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Put a picture on there of the department head, I don't know, something, whatever. So either one of those, does one fit better, your bill better than the other?
That's a good question. I'd probably have to go and actually get requirements to see if there are changes in the form depending on the department selected. Because right now it's just the generic form, but I could see once we find out, we can send, DHHS stuff directly to DHHS, they might want different fields, so
Right.
it's hard to say which one would be better right now. I'm inclined to say the first one, but it might end up being the second one because we might be opening up ourselves to a can of worms.
Maybe. Another thing I'm thinking about is, from a content manager's perspective, what do you do, or when the person gets that email about the notification, what do they do?
Yeah.
Well, they want to come back in and maybe download the results or look at the submission from the workstation. Well, if it's one block that we decided who to email, well, now you've got all the submissions for that form in one spot. That might be nice. That might be bad. If you have the separate forms, the person could come to just their form and see just their responses and not have to deal with, wading through the other ones. So there's maybe some other, ancillary aspects that, we might want to think through just to get the right fit for it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions, Jen? As I give you a quick demo of the new Titan content library.
I do have a question, and this actually just came up yesterday. We were talking to somebody in our DHHS department, and they created some public training in a program called Articulate.
Okay.
And so they exported it out as the web version and not the SCORM content, and wanted to know if we could host that within Titan. So it looks like it's basically kind of a little mini microsite. So I don't know if we could use the raw HTML block or an application block to potentially host that, but.
Did you try pasting it into the raw HTML block and see what happens?
No, I haven't quite done that yet. I mean, it's a whole format. Like, it's got a source folder with JavaScript files, some other weird kind of files. You would need to know, like, the path to where to get them and stuff.
Yeah.
So the only thing I was able to do yesterday was download all the files locally and verify that I can actually open the index.html page and the site runs.
Yeah. So that sounds like that raw HTML launch it off. So you could host it. I'm not sure where your site is hosted, but it sounds like you're going to have to put that into a source folder
Yeah.
on a server and then point at it. There's
Okay.
probably a whole bunch of challenges with doing that
Okay.
that are
Yeah.
outside of Titan. Yeah. Yeah, because it wouldn't be managed by Titan could just point to it. That's, but then you're going to
Yeah.
have to figure out someplace to host it.
Part of me would want
Okay.
to like review some of the content, right? If we go through and it really ends up being basic, HTML5 type content, the raw HTML block could be a good way to go. But I mean, depending on how many pages this thing generated, are you going to create a new page and then copy and paste the code in? That seems like a lot of work. What Pat's idea of just putting the folder on the server and then letting people, link to it, and now the navigation context kind of changes. Well,
Yeah.
that's not great because now you're now you got site something that looks probably totally different than your site. I don't know if that's great. You could iframe it. That maybe gets you part of the way there. But what's it doing? Does it have forms? Does it have filters? Does it have JavaScript? Does it have PHP? Does it have, like what other aspects be going on under the covers with that content? That's the thing
Yeah.
that somebody should probably take into consideration, and then maybe you make a course change as far as, well, let's go this route for some of it and this route for another, or maybe it just ends up living as its own IIS site, and you can give it a subdomain or something, and have people link off to it when they need to.
Yeah. Because I can steal a screen share just really quick here and just very basically show you what it
Sure.
is.
Yep.
Because my initial gut reaction was, yeah, this is probably too advanced for Titan, but I figured as long as I'm the only one here and I have your time, it can't hurt
There you
to,
go. Go
to
for it.
just verify that. So, yeah, this is what he kind of gave us. This is all kind of test content, and it's like I said, it's really like a LMS SCORM-based thing. Only he exported it from Articulate as like web-based, so it's just kind of being able to go through here, watch some videos, scroll through, take a couple quizzes and whatnot. So this is really the content that they would want.
Yeah.
And then if we look at the structure, you can see it's got assets in here, so some
Yeah.
JPEGs, some
Yeah, there's a
libraries
lot.
and whatnot, and
There's a lot
then
going on.
some
Yeah.
locales. Yeah.
We
Yeah.
do
So I
have,
figured. Oh,
we
go
did
ahead.
have something like this in the past for Children's Hospital back in the older version, and we did give them access to the JavaScript, not the custom, what is it? The Common Scripts folder.
Yep.
And then they had their own folder within there and they could upload and download. When we went to the upgrade, we switched it, so they're all working, but now he just uploads all those files into the file pile. And I don't remember if we did any special code for that, except
Oh.
I have to look it up, but they have all these like JavaScript games on one of the children's websites. And I think they're all still working. I can take a look at that and see if there's anything and look at the old tickets with Greg, but I'm pretty sure when we moved to V7, it was just like, oh, well, now you just put everything in
Into a
the
file
structure in the file pile and update all your URLs to look there, and they all worked. But I'll double check on that, because since you're self-hosted, Jen, you
Oh.
do have
Yeah.
access to the Common Scripts folder, and that's the
Right.
way you,
Yep.
but then that's more code that you're managing there, so I don't know how, you and Carlton would want to do it.
Yeah. 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 Like I said, my initial reaction to this was let's keep this out of Titan, and yeah, maybe we can iframe it or something if we want to keep the style, or it's just this looks weird. Unfortunately, we have other microsites kind of that just look weird too. So
Yep.
I mean, we can try to work with DHHS to style it similar to Titan, but yeah, I don't know that we gain a whole lot by putting it within Titan.
Yeah.
But like I said, I just figured this literally just came up yesterday, so
Yeah.
as long as I'm the only one here and I have a captive audience, I would
Sure.
kick myself if I didn't ask.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Yeah.
And yeah, my 2 cents is keep it out of Titan.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my 2 cents.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah, and then you can build a nav. You might have to add a nav item to get back to where once you came.
Right.
Either that
Or
you pop it in a new
or
window.
pop it into a new tab or something, so that they don't
Okay.
actually leave the context of browsing the city or county site. And
Yeah.
All right. Let's do this. Share. Okay. Okay. Tour of 751 for inquiring minds. See what we got going on over here. So where am I going? Let's go to this one. So inside of Titan, we have now upgraded, spent a lot of time upgrading and enhancing the usability, adding a bunch of new features into the content library. So when you are on a page and you want to add some more content, our old favorite add content button is still up on the top as it always was. But we've added a couple new features. One, we have the content library is just one more click away. That's the full library, but we've added the concept of bookmarks into the center frame over here. They're always going to be square. And they're always going to be whatever you pick personally to show up inside there. There is a concept of both personal bookmarks and global bookmarks. So if somebody has within the webmasters, maybe it's you, decides that these are blocks everybody should have access to and should always show up over there, then you can set those as global. But if you have a personal set of bookmarks, could show up here also. We also added the idea that these bookmarks would be limited by only ones that work with your currently selected theme. So many clients have more than one theme on their page. Inside their instance. And when they pick a block like this digital services intro, whatever, it's probably a bad one. This one might be better, where it's got all these colors, stripes, etc. inside here, this mix of color. That might not work in a different theme. The color rendering or the layout or some of the classes might not be there to support it. And you're going to get, if you drop that block on there, the HTML is going to load, but it won't render correctly because the CSS isn't present. Does that make sense? How I'm explaining that?
Yep.
Okay, so if I said, show me the theme bookmarks, and I'll change that so you can see what that shows up. Right now, I'm showing all bookmarks. I'm showing only the ones that work with the theme. And then these are the old system blocks that were always there. Nothing has changed about those. We've just moved them all the way over to the right-hand side of the screen. So these work the same as before. Everything's the same. So if you just want to build a new freeform block, you click freeform, boom, you're adding a freeform block. So all that's the same. So adding content, bookmarks in the middle, your favorites, different theme bookmarks, system blocks. Content library has been greatly enhanced with all sorts of new features. Starting over here, we have now built the ability for you to build a folder structure to your liking. So if you want to make a new library called Jen's Blocks, you can call it Jen, and we call it done. And now Jen's Blocks are available inside there. Come back over here. All up on the top in this library is always going to show all blocks. So no matter what you got, frankly, this is the old view. So previously, whenever you came into the content library, the default view was show everything. And so that's what we're doing. But in the all view, if you did nothing else, you now can search. So if we said, find all search the words that have apply in it, hit enter, there it is, how to apply. Get rid of that search, click up here, done, goes back. And I also have the option to support within the theme. So find me all the blocks that work with the theme, done. And now it's going to filter that based on the blocks inside. And you can see this list has radically diminished. So now there's only, actually, we have 9 results. So only nine of these blocks work with the Reflex theme. And the reason we know that is because on each one of these blocks, there's a checkbox now, right down here, that says, does this block work with a theme? And if you had more than one theme, they would be listed right over here and you'd be able to check those boxes all the way into a scroll window so that if there's, a long list of themes, et cetera, you'd be able to check which ones are there. So if I take this block and I say, no, it doesn't work with Reflex, I'm not sure which theme it works with, which is going to be when you first install this upgrade, that box is not going to be checked. I believe that's not going to be checked for any of them. So you're going to have to go and assign these. So now that is not showing up for the Reflex theme. So again, I set the over here. I'm going to put it back to all items. Done. Now it has appeared again. Double click on it again. It's not checked. So if I go back over to my bookmarks, this is the one that I have done. So I'm going to come back out and show you if I'm adding content. And show me the all bookmarks. There it is. Show me only ones that work with the theme. Should that be showing, John, or is that?
No, you just said it backwards. So right now it's showing.
Yeah, I did say it backwards. You're right. I said it backwards. Yep. So now it's showing all the theme bookmarks. And here's the one where it's showing the ones that this is showing the all. This is the all view. Right.
Yeah, the button is giving you a descriptor of what it's going to change it to.
Right. All right.
Okay.
So going back into our content library, we have added the ability, as we saw, to add a new library over here. So here's my blocks. Here's some photo blocks. Here's a gen block. Go and rearrange a couple other things. So we're going to take this services block and I'm going to drag it over here into gen. And I can drag that into Pat's block also, John? Does it show up in more than one spot?
Nope, it'll only show up in one place.
Got it. Okay. So,
Well, it'll always show up in all, right?
right.
It's just where do you want it organized apart from all? And
Okay.
it can be in one place.
And so now if I wanted it out of Jen's and into Pat's blocks, I can drag it over there. And now it's over in Pat's blocks. I want Pat's blocks and I want to rearrange it. I can drag it over into Jen. I'll go over to Jen's blocks. There it is. If I wanted to get it out of this altogether, I can just drag it right up over here into libraries and boom, it's now removed. It's always going to be in all. And if I bookmarked it, it's always going to be in a bookmark, but I can organize them into various libraries over here. So we got folders you can add and you can nest them. So if I wanted to make Pat's blocks and I wanted to say Pat's photo blocks under Pat, even though that exists already, now I've got subfolders. So you can build folders, subfolders. If I want to get rid of that folder, I can do the delete button over here. If I delete that library folder, it only affects the folders and any descendant folders, but the blocks that are inside of there will not be deleted. So they're just going to go back up into the all. Yeah. So that's it. I'm just kind of removing the organizational structure inside. With some of these blocks, let's find one that's got here's our bookmark, etc. When I click it, it tells me the name, when it was created, who created it. Here's the preview that's inside there. And I can still do all the same stuff I did before with the block. We've added, it's pretty much the same. Oh, it can be global or personal. So that's the same as it was before.
The thing that's new that you can do that you couldn't before is make changes to this block copy. And Pat's been saying block, when you're in this screen, it's a copy. It's off someplace else. It's not the blocks that are currently on a page anywhere. They're ready to go on a page, but you could add stuff to them. You used to be able to modify ones that were already there. Now you can add more and rearrange and do a lot more with the list of things that have been captured here. So if you wanted to say add a free form above this TOC or filter or whatever, then you could do that and rearrange them and add more content from here that will become part of this example or sample or whatever, however you want to think of it, that you can later place onto pages.
Okay. That would only impact new blocks if this template's used and it wouldn't update existing ones?
Correct.
Okay.
That's right.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's not a share. Every time you add from the content library, it's cloning that completely and making a brand new copy of it. So there's different than a page share.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so that's really cool. In addition, so all the drag and drop functionality, the ability to build libraries and folders, the ability to search, all view, always available. So I want to find all the photo blocks. If you name them well, all the photo blocks are going to show up for whatever names you give them. The ability to have global and personals retained. And so lots of big organizational enhancements inside of our content library here. Fair amount of work. The other thing that we did add, we talked about before, is the clone block. So I can edit this block. Double clicking will always edit it. So will the edit button over here. So double clicking will bring up this freeform block as before. This will, I can share this into the content library. So if I wanted to take this one and make a copy, this is how you add stuff. And I don't have more than one. Actually, let's do this thing over here. So if I say duplicate block, I now get another copy of it. So that's brand new. And you got a complete clone, this whole thing. And if I take both of these, I can go up to the top over here and I can say, add these to the content library. And then it's a double block. Both of those are going to be entries into the content library. So it's going to say, this is a double, seeing double. We're going to call it seeing double, and then whatever created by Patrick, personal block. And it does work with the reflex theme. And there you go. And so now inside of our add new content, open the content library, and I actually search for double. There's seeing double. And if I double click on it, I don't have a preview built for it. There's my preview. Have you been building previews have you been using the content library previously?
I don't think it's very widely used around our site. I think it's something that's probably underutilized and definitely should and could be used more.
Yeah.
So I think these enhancements are a good thing. Yeah, I don't know how much impact it'll have right away because yeah, we're just not using it to the extent that I think we probably could be and should be.
Once you establish a good block or a good layout, or even a whole page, like you said, you can take 7 blocks on the thing and say, here's a whole landing page structure, making that available for everybody.
Yeah.
That when they just moved the DHHS site onto the framework.
Ah.
And when we did
Yep.
that, I did add specific page parts and stuff like that to the block library with the prefix, I think, of DHHS or something like that. And when, you know, as each site we move on and we have that framework, Jen, you'll see that block library get built up because I go in and do that.
Okay.
And I add the screenshots so you know what you're getting when you click and stuff like that. So it
No,
is
that's
something
awesome.
that's, yeah, really getting to be a good asset for the clients. We just have to kind of take it to the next level when we get you in the framework.
Awesome.
Yep.
So I am going to, I don't know if I can, I can't download oh, there, it did work. You can't see, but off screen right now, I have an editor. I'm not sharing that screen because I'm going to just do this real quick. And I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a little screenshot. I'm telling you what I'm doing on my keyboard. I'm going to save that file into my thumbnails folder. Save, where's my save as? It's here somewhere, save as. Downloads, and it's called Preview Snapshot 5. That's what I just saved, a little download. And so now I'm going to go back into here, close the preview out. I'm going to browse to my folder. So block copy previews is in the file pile, etc. I'm going to go over here to my downloads file. That's screenshots. I want downloads. There it is. There's that preview 5 that we were just talking about. I just made. I'm going to upload that file inside here. And now, I think I say done. And I say, actually, I don't need that huge size, right, John?
Right.
Medium's probably good enough. And say done. There we go. And now I've got, and I think that was under 20 seconds. I put a little preview in here of what that block looks like.
That's
And so
cool.
now-
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's real easy in that, but it's pretty trivial to do if you got, you know, just kind of little image editors locally. We are working on some enhancements that hopefully make that down to 10 seconds, where you can build a preview, and maybe at some point it'll be automatic. But in the meantime, yeah, I did a few things off screen you couldn't see, but I just got a free image editor where I just cropped a little part of that page, saved it to my
Yep.
folder, and then uploaded it. So these are always available to you, etc. And now I'm going to take that page called double, and I'm going to bookmark it plus, and now it is one of my favorites. I'm also going to go in there and say, everybody should have access to this. So I'm going to make it global because it's just brilliant work. And so now when we're all done over here and I say add content, they're seeing doubles now showing up in my bookmarks. Does it work with the reflex theme? Yes, it does. One of them doesn't. And off we go. All right. So that concludes our 7.5 content library enhancements. And a couple other little cool things we added into the block libraries itself.
Cool. Cool. So 7.51 out now.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Because we are definitely going to upgrade at some point this year. So I think there
Yep.
was some discussion around whether to do 7.4 or 7.5. So
Yeah, you want to go to 5. We've fixed 100 other things under the hood. You know, aren't worth, you know, they bore you. But there's lots of little
Okay.
fixes, enhancements, et cetera, that are inside there. So you should definitely go to 7.51. Are you guys on Total Care?
no.
Okay. Talk to them about Total Care because that's
Yeah.
it's a nice way to get these
I
up.
know.
Thanks for popping by. Always fun to talk, and have a good day.
All right. I appreciate it. Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you. Bye.